The last time I saw my grandmother alive, she pressed her house key into my palm and whispered, "This will always be your sanctuary, Sophia." I didn't know then that those words would become both a blessing and a curse. My name is Sophia, and I've spent 29 years being the good daughter, the reliable one, the one who gave up art school to help run the family business when Dad's health took a turn, the one who drove Cadence to dance recitals, helped her with college applications, and covered for her countless mistakes. My younger sister has always been the star of our family show, while I remained in the wings, making sure everything ran smoothly. "Darling, could you help me with these papers?" Mum called from the study 3 days after Nana's funeral. Her voice had that honey-sweet tone she used when she wanted something. "It's about the estate." I found her surrounded by stacks of documents, her reading glasses perched on her nose. "Just need your signature on a few things. Probate court requirements, you know how it is." "Shouldn't we wait for the lawyer?" I asked, picking up one of the forms. Mom waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, Mr. Harrison said this is all standard procedure. We're just expediting things to avoid unnecessary fees." I reached for a pen, but something made me hesitate. "Can I read through these first?" "Sophia," Mum sighed, "don't you trust me? We're all grieving here, and these administrative tasks are just adding to everyone's stress, especially with Cadence's wedding coming up." Of course, Cadence's wedding, the event that had somehow become more important than our grandmother's death. "Fine," I said, signing where she pointed. The familiar weight of compliance settled on my shoulders. Later that evening, I sat alone in Nana's kitchen. My kitchen now, according to the will reading yesterday. The old copper kettle whistled on the stove, just like it had thousands of times before. This house held every good memory I had. Baking cookies, learning to paint, long talks about life and dreams. Nana had been the only one who saw me as more than just Cadence's support system. The front door opened, and I heard my parents' voices in the hallway. I was about to call out when I caught snippets of their conversation. "Wire transfer should clear by Friday," Dad was saying in a low voice. "Keep it quiet until after everything's settled," Mom replied. "We don't want to upset." They stopped abruptly when they saw me in the kitchen doorway. Mum's face shifted into a bright smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Sweetheart, we didn't know you were here," she said too cheerfully. "Actually, your father and I were just discussing some changes we might need to make. Temporarily, of course." "Changes?" I asked, my hand tightening around Nana's old key. "Well," Dad cleared his throat. "With the wedding expenses and everything, we might need to consider some creative financial solutions." "What kind of creative solutions?" Mom stepped forward, placing her hand on my arm. "Nothing for you to worry about, dear. We'll handle everything. You just focus on helping your sister with the wedding plans. She needs you right now." I nodded automatically, playing my usual role. But something cold had settled in my stomach. I'd seen that look in Mom's eyes before, the one she got when she was plotting something she knew I wouldn't like. After they left, I stood in Nana's, my living room, running my fingers along the familiar wallpaper. The house felt different suddenly, less like a sanctuary and more like something I needed to protect. My phone buzzed with a text from Cadence. "Emergency! Need you of bridal shop tomorrow, 9 a.m. sharp. Don't be late." I typed back a quick "okay," while my other hand clutched Nana's key so tight it left an imprint on my palm. Something was wrong. I could feel it in my bones, in the way Mom avoided my eyes, in the hushed conversations about wire transfers. For the first time in my life, I decided not to ignore that feeling. "Hold still!" Cadence snapped as I adjusted her veil for the 100th time. "God, Sophia, can't you do anything right?" The bridal shop's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across my sister's face, making her look older than 27. Or maybe it was just the perpetual frown she'd worn since arriving 45 minutes late to her own fitting. "Sorry," I murmured, stepping back. Maybe if we... I need Mum, Cadence interrupted, pulling out her phone. She actually knows what she's doing. 20 minutes later, Mum swept into the boutique like a perfectly coiffed hurricane. "Oh, darling, you look divine," she gushed, completely ignoring my presence. "But we need to discuss the reception venue. There's been a slight complication with the deposit." I pretended to busy myself with the rack of bridesmaid dresses while eavesdropping. "What do you mean, we might lose the ballroom?" Cadence's voice rose dangerously. "Daddy promised everything was handled." "Shh, sweetheart. We're working on it. The funds are just temporarily tied up in some property matters." My hands froze on a silk dress. Property matters. "The house better sell fast," Cadence hissed. I won't have my perfect day ruined because... Mom cut her off with a sharp look, finally remembering I was in the room. "Let's discuss this later, dear. Sophia, don't you have some errands to run?" I did have errands, just not the kind they expected. Leaving the boutique, I drove straight to the county records office. The clerk looked bored as I requested property records for Nana's address. "Nothing's been filed recently," she said, scanning her computer. "But there is a pending sale listing." My stomach dropped. "That's impossible. I own that house." "According to our records, the property is still under the previous owner's name. No transfer has been processed." I was halfway to my car when my phone pinged with an email notification. It was from Ken Bradley Real Estate. "Thank you for your interest in 1542 Maple Street. The open house is scheduled for..." My hand shook as I burst through my parents' front door 30 minutes later. "You're selling Nana's house?" Mum and Dad exchanged glances from their spots at the kitchen table. Dad suddenly became very interested in his coffee cup. "Sophia, calm down," Mum said smoothly. "We're just exploring options. The market is excellent right now, and with Cadence's wedding..." "It's not your house to sell," my voice cracked. "Nana left it to me. It's in the will." "About that?" Dad cleared his throat. "There were some complications with the paperwork." "What complications?" "Really, Sophia," Mum sighed, "you're being dramatic. We're your parents. Everything we do is for this family's benefit. You wouldn't want to ruin your sister's special day over something as trivial as a house, would you?" "Trivial?" I stared at her, really seeing her for the first time. "That house is all I have left of Nana." "You have your memories," Mom said dismissively. "And you have us. Now, about the bridesmaid dress fitting." I backed away from the table, my mind racing. "I need some air." "Don't forget," Mum called after me. "Cake tasting tomorrow at 3. In my car, I pulled out my phone and Googled real estate fraud with trembling fingers. The results made my blood run cold. Forged signatures, fake power of attorney, unauthorized property sales. Everything suddenly clicked. The papers I'd signed without reading, the whispered conversations, the wire transfers. A text from Cadence lit up my screen. "Where are my wedding favour samples? You were supposed to order them last week." I stared at the message, 29 years of being the family doormat flashing before my eyes. Another text followed. "Hello? Earth to useless sister." Something snapped inside me. I opened my contacts and scrolled to a number I'd saved years ago but never called. My college roommate's brother, a private investigator. "Hello," I said when he answered. "My name is Sophia. I need help proving my family is trying to steal my house." I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror and barely recognized myself. The quiet, compliant daughter was gone. In her place was someone with steel in her spine and ice in her veins. Game on, family, game on. Brian's office looked exactly like what you'd expect from a private investigator. Minimal, professional, and slightly worn around the edges. He sat across from me, methodically arranging documents on his desk while I explained my situation. Let me get this straight, he said, leaning forward. Your grandmother left you her house, but before you could file the deed transfer, your parents started trying to sell it. Yes, and I think they forged my signature on something. They had me sign papers right after the funeral, but I swallowed hard. I was stupid. I didn't read them carefully. Brian nodded, his expression neutral. Grief makes people vulnerable. Your parents counted on that. He pulled out a legal pad. I'll need access to any documentation you have. The will, recent bank statements, text messages, emails, anything involving the house or the wedding. The wedding? Follow the money, he said simply. You mentioned they're rushing to sell the house right before your sister's wedding. That's not a coincidence. I handed over my phone. Here's everything I could find. But they're careful. Most conversations about the house happen in person. Brian spent the next hour copying data and making notes. I watched his eyebrows rise several times as he scrolled through my texts with cadence. Your sister's not very nice to you, he observed. That's just how she is, I said automatically, then caught myself. I mean, that's how she's always been? He turned his laptop screen toward me. Take a look at this. My heart stopped. On the screen was a power of attorney document with my signature at the bottom, except I'd never signed it. That's not my signature, I whispered. No, it's not, Brian agreed, but it's good enough to fool most people. This gives your mother full authority to act on your behalf in property matters. How did you find this? I have contacts at the county clerk's office. They flagged some inconsistencies in the filing. He pulled up another document. There's more. The house is already under contract. The buyers transferred a deposit 3 days ago. My hands clenched into fists. Can we stop it? Yes, but we need to move fast. He was interrupted by my phone buzzing. Cadence's face filled the screen. I should take this, I said. Have to keep acting normal. Brian nodded, and I answered. Where are you? Cadence demanded. The florist is waiting. Sorry, got held up at work. I'm on my way. I grabbed my purse, mouthing thank you to Brian. Wait, he said as I reached the door. One more thing. He handed me a small device. It's a voice recorder. Keep it with you during family conversations. The more evidence we have, the better. At the florist's, I found Cadence surrounded by roses and lilies, Mom at her side. They were deep in discussion about centerpieces. Finally! Cadence exclaimed. Mom, tell her about the new table arrangements. Oh, yes, Mum smiled that artificial smile. We had to upgrade to the premium package. Thank goodness for that house sale coming through. The timing is perfect. I pressed the record button in my pocket. What house sale? Just a small investment property, Mum waved dismissively. Nothing important. Now, about these roses. The pink ones, Cadence interrupted. Definitely the pink ones. Sophia, you're paying attention, right? I need you to coordinate with the delivery people day of. My phone buzzed with a text from Brian. Found something big. Bank transfers to wedding vendors from an account in your name. Come back ASAP. Actually, I said, I'm not feeling well. Might be coming down with something. You can't be sick, Cadence shrieked. The wedding's in 3 weeks. Don't worry, I smiled, channeling Mum's artificial sweetness. I wouldn't miss it for the world. I left them arguing about flower arrangements and drove straight back to Brian's office. With each mile, my determination grew stronger. They hadn't just stolen my house. They'd stolen my identity, my inheritance, and my dignity. But they'd made one crucial mistake. They thought I was still the same pushover I'd always been. They had no idea what I was capable of. And they were about to find out. You need to see this, Brian said, spreading printouts across his desk. Your mother opened a bank account in your name 2 months ago. The The house sale proceeds are being funneled through it directly into the wedding vendor's accounts. I leaned forward, scanning the documents. How is this even possible? With the forged power of attorney, it was easy, but that's not all. He pulled up a series of text messages on his screen. These are from your sister's phone backup. My eyes widened as I read, Cadence. Did she suspect anything about the house? Mum, please, your sister's too naive to question anything. Just keep her busy with wedding tasks. Cadence. LOL, true. She's such a doormat. Mum. Just make sure she stays that way until after the sale closes. My hands trembled as I scrolled through more conversations. They mocked my intelligence, joked about my blind trust, planned how to manipulate me through guilt and obligation. There's hundreds of messages like this, Brian said quietly, going back months. A text from Dad to Mum caught my eye. Are we sure about this? It feels wrong. Mum's response. Do you want to explain to Cadence why she can't have her dream wedding? Besides, Sophia never did anything with that house anyway. At least this way it's helping the family. I lived in that house, I whispered. I was renovating it. They knew that. Brian nodded. We have enough evidence for criminal charges. Wire fraud, identity theft, real estate fraud. No, I interrupted. Legal proceedings would take months, maybe years. The wedding's in 3 weeks. I looked up at him. I want them to feel what I'm feeling right now, in front of everyone they're trying to impress. What are you thinking? My phone buzzed. Another demanding text from Cadence about wedding preparations. A plan started forming in my mind. The reception, I said slowly. They're having this elaborate multimedia presentation. Photos, videos, music, all controlled through the venue's AV system. Brian raised an eyebrow. That could work, but you'll need access. I already have it. I'm the tech-savvy sister who's helping with everything. I pulled out my wedding planner notebook. The reception coordinator gave me all the passwords yesterday. It's risky, he warned. Once you do this, there's no going back. Your family, they stopped being family the moment they decided to steal my inheritance, I said firmly. But I need your help with one more thing. Name it. I need proof they're using the house money for the wedding. Something undeniable. Brian typed rapidly on his keyboard. The real estate agent, Ken Bradley. He's been sloppy with his email trail. Look at this exchange with your mother. The emails detailed exactly how they planned to hide the sale from me, complete with instructions about forging documents and routing the money through various accounts. Perfect, I said. Can you get me everything? Bank statements, texts, emails, all of it? Already compiled. He handed me a flash drive. But, Sophia, are you sure about this? Public humiliation is permanent. I thought about all the times I'd swallowed my pride for family peace, all the dreams I'd sacrificed for Cadence's success, all the nights I'd spent alone in Nana's house, finally feeling like I had a place of my own. They're counting on me being the same quiet, accommodating Sophia I've always been, I said. That's their mistake. My phone buzzed again. Cadence. Emergency dress fitting tomorrow. Don't you dare be late this time, Mum. And bring the check for the florist deposit. $3,000. Don't forget. I smiled grimly. They want a perfect wedding? I'll give them a reception they'll never forget. Brian watched me carefully. What's your next move? I'm going to be the most helpful, enthusiastic sister anyone could want, I said, standing up. I'll handle the slideshow, help with the seating chart, run every errand they need, and when they're feeling completely secure, that's when you'll strike. Exactly. I picked up the flash drive, feeling its weight in my palm. They taught me well, about keeping up appearances, about the importance of timing, about family loyalty. I headed for the door, then turned back. I just don't think they expected me to learn those lessons quite so thoroughly. The wedding rehearsal was a masterclass in manipulation. Mine, not theirs. I arrived early wearing the pastel dress Cadence had chosen, my face carefully arranged into an expression of sisterly devotion. "Everyone, places, please." The wedding coordinator clapped her hands. "Let's run through this one more time." As we lined up, I deliberately fumbled with my bouquet, letting it slip from my fingers. The flowers scattered across the church floor. "Seriously?" Cadence hissed. "Can't you do anything right?" "I'm sorry," I said, my voice cracking perfectly. I'm feeling so emotional about everything." Mum's sharp eyes softened slightly. This was what they expected from me. Clumsy, emotional, harmless Sophia. After the rehearsal, I caught Mum alone in the church vestibule. "Can we talk?" She checked her watch. "Make it quick, dear. We have the dinner reservation." I wanted to apologise, I said, letting tears well up. "I know I've been difficult lately. About the house and everything. I understand now that you're just trying to do what's best for the family." Mum's posture relaxed visibly. "Oh, sweetheart." She pulled me into a stiff hug. "I knew you'd come around. Family has to stick together, right?" "Right," I whispered into her expensive silk blouse. "That's why I want to help more with the reception. I could handle the multimedia presentation. Take that off your plate?" "Really?" She held me at arm's length, studying my face. "That would be wonderful. But are you sure you can manage it?" "Trust me," I smiled. I want everything to be perfect." At the rehearsal dinner, I played my role flawlessly. I laughed at Cadence's jokes, complimented her fiancé Trent's boring banking stories, and helped Mum manage the seating drama when two aunts nearly came to blows over table assignments. "The slideshow company called," Mum announced during dessert. "They're having technical difficulties uploading the final version." "I can help," I offered eagerly. "I have that backup copy we made, remember? On the flash drive." "Oh, thank goodness," Cadence sighed. "At least you're good for something." Later, in the bridal suite where Cadence was staying until the wedding, I made my move. "I brought some wedding day emergency supplies," I said, setting down a basket, "including this." I held up the flash drive. "All the photos are loaded and ready." "Just don't screw it up," Cadence said, not looking up from her phone. "The reception has to be perfect. Everyone who's anyone will be there." "I know." I placed the drive carefully on her vanity. "Everything will be exactly as it should be." Back in my car, I called Brian. "Flash drive is planted. Did you handle the AV system?" "Yes, I spoke with the tech guy. He'll let us access the controls remotely when it's time." "Perfect." I watched through the hotel window as Cadence admired herself in the mirror. "One more thing. Did you get those screenshots I asked for? The ones of your mother's text messages about selling the house? All formatted and ready. They'll show up crystal clear on those big reception screens." I smiled. "Excellent. And the bank statements?" "Colour-coded and highlighted. Nobody will miss those transfers from the house sale to the wedding vendors." A text lit up my phone. Mum asking if I double-checked the slideshow timing. I replied with 3 heart emojis and an "Of course." "Brian," I said quietly, "thank you for everything. Just be prepared," he warned. "Tomorrow will change everything." That's what I'm counting on. I drove home to my apartment, not Nana's house, not anymore, and laid out my bridesmaid dress for tomorrow. The soft, pink fabric seemed to mock me, like everything else about this facade of family unity. My phone buzzed one last time. Cadence. "Don't be late tomorrow. Hair and makeup at 7 a.m. sharp, and bring mints." Your breath always smells weird in the morning. I typed back, wouldn't miss it for the world. Sweet dreams, sis. Tomorrow will be unforgettable. I set my alarm and lay down, but sleep didn't come. Instead, I imagined tomorrow's reception, the moment when the screens would flicker from happy family photos to cold, hard evidence of betrayal. You wanted a perfect wedding, Cadence? I whispered to my ceiling. Well, perfect is exactly what you're going to get. The wedding ceremony went off without a hitch. Cadence floated down the aisle like a princess. Mom dabbed her eyes with an expensive handkerchief, and Dad beamed with pride. I stood in my designated spot, smiled for photos, and waited. The reception hall was exactly as Cadence had demanded. Crystal chandeliers, white roses everywhere, and 4 massive screens mounted on the walls for the multimedia presentation. 300 guests filled the tables, all here to witness my sister's perfect day. Testing, the AV tech whispered to me during dinner. We're all set for the slideshow after your father's speech. I nodded, checking my phone under the table. A text from Brian. Ready when you are. The DJ announced it was time for toasts. Dad stood up, champagne glass in hand, his voice already thick with emotion. When my girls were little, he began, I used to tell them that family means always being there for each other. I caught Mum's eye across the table. She smiled approvingly, probably thinking I'd finally accepted my place in the family hierarchy. And now, Dad continued, watching Cadence become this beautiful bride, seeing how our family has supported her dreams, I pressed a button on my phone. Showtime. The screens flickered. Dad's voice faltered as the sweet childhood photo of Cadence and me faded into something else. A bank statement showing the house sale proceeds being transferred into the wedding fund account. What's happening? Cadence stood up, her white dress catching the light. That's not the right slideshow. But the screens kept changing. Text messages appeared. Mum, just keep Sophia distracted until the sale closes. Cadence. Easy. She's too stupid to figure it out anyway. Gasps echoed through the hall. Someone dropped a glass. The forged power of attorney appeared next, followed by emails between Mum and the real estate agent discussing how to hide the sale from me. Turn it off, Mum shrieked, but the AV tech was mysteriously absent from his station. I stood up slowly, my heart pounding but my voice steady. Why turn it off, Mom? Isn't this what family's all about? Being there for each other? Sophia, Dad pleaded, don't do this. Don't do what? I picked up my champagne glass. Don't show everyone how you stole my inheritance. Don't reveal how you forged my signature. Don't expose how you used my grandmother's house, my house, to fund this ridiculous spectacle. Cadence lunged for me, but her massive dress tangled around her legs. You're ruining everything. No, sister dear, you did that yourself. I turned to address the shocked guests. My grandmother left me that house because she knew what they were like. She wanted me to have something that was just mine. But they couldn't stand that, could they? More screenshots appeared. Bank transfers, legal documents, all the evidence Brian had collected. Sophia, please. Mum stood up, trying to maintain control. We can discuss this privately. Like you discussed selling my house privately? I laughed. Or like you privately mocked me in these text messages. The screen showed more conversations. Guests were taking photos with their phones now, capturing every damning detail. Trent, the groom, pushed his chair back with a screech. Is this true? Did you commit fraud to pay for our wedding? Honey, I can explain. Cadence grabbed his arm, but he shook her off. My father's on the bank's board of directors, he said coldly. Do you have any idea how this looks? Mum tried one last time. Everyone, please. There's been a misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding, I cut in, was thinking I would stay quiet forever. I raised my glass. To family loyalty, right, Dad? To always being there for each other? The room erupted into chaos. Guests started leaving, phones buzzed with social media notifications, and Cadence collapsed into dramatic sobs that smeared her perfect makeup. I walked calmly to the exit, pausing only to place my bridesmaid bouquet on the gift table. As I reached the door, I heard Trent saying something about calling his lawyer, and Mom trying desperately to salvage the situation. Outside, Brian was waiting in his car. "How did it go?" he asked, though the shouting from inside answered his question. I slid into the passenger seat, finally letting out the breath I'd been holding all day. "Perfectly," I said. "It went perfectly." The aftermath hit faster than I expected. By midnight, clips from the reception were trending on social media. By morning, local news outlets were calling. I sat in Brian's office, watching my phone explode with notifications. "Your sister's wedding is now the top post on 3 different Reddit forums," he said, turning his laptop toward me. "People are calling it the wedding reception revenge." A harsh knock interrupted us. Dad stood in the doorway, looking 10 years older than he had yesterday. "5 minutes," I said to Brian, who nodded and stepped out. "What do you want?" I asked Dad. "Your mother is devastated," he said, slumping into a chair. "Cadence hasn't stopped crying. Trent's family is threatening legal action. And? He looked up, anger finally breaking through his defeated expression. "And you destroyed our family over a house." "No." I stood up, hands flat on the desk. "You destroyed our family when you decided I didn't deserve what Nana left me. When you forged my signature. When you and Mum taught Cadence that it was okay to treat me like garbage. We were trying to what? Help the family." I laughed bitterly. "Let me show you something." I pulled up the text messages on my phone. "Here's Mom telling Cadence I'm too stupid to notice the fraud. Here's Cadence joking about how pathetic I am. Here's you agreeing to forge documents because," and I quote, "Sophia never stands up for herself anyway." Dad's face crumpled. "I'm sorry." "Sorry you did it? Or sorry you got caught?" Before he could answer, my phone buzzed. Mum's face appeared on the screen. "Put it on speaker," Dad said quietly. I did. "How dare you?" Mum's voice crackled with rage. "Do you have any idea what you've done? The country club is threatening to revoke our membership. Eloise isn't speaking to me, and Cadence, Trent's family, has called off the engagement." "That sounds terrible," I said calmly. "Almost as terrible as having your inheritance stolen by your own family." "We were going to pay you back," Mum shrieked. "After the wedding." "With what money? The house was worth $500,000, and you spent it all on ice sculptures and designer dresses." "You ungrateful little—" "Save it," I cut her off. "My lawyer will be in touch about the fraud charges." "You wouldn't dare." "Watch me." I ended the call and turned to Dad. "Anything else?" He stood slowly. "What do you want from us?" "I want what's legally mine. The house proceeds with interest, and I want you all to leave me alone." "And if we don't?" I pulled out a folder Brian had prepared. "Then these documents go to the police, the IRS, and Trent's father at the bank. Your choice." Dad reached for the door, then paused. "Your grandmother would be ashamed of you." "No," I said softly. "Nana taught me to stand up for myself. She'd be proud I finally did." After he left, Brian returned with coffee. "You okay?" "They still don't get it," I said, taking a sip. "They really thought I'd just accept it, keep playing my role." "People like that never expect consequences," he replied. "Speaking of which," he handed me a newspaper. The society page showed a photo of Cadence's ruined reception, with the headline, "Wedding turns to warfare, family fraud exposed." My phone buzzed again. A text from Cadence. "I hope you're happy. You've ruined my life." I typed back, "No, you did that yourself. Good luck with the karma." "What now?" Brian asked, right when now we let the lawyers handle it. I stood up, gathering my things. "I hear the house market's pretty good right now. Think I'll find something new, something that's just mine." They might try to retaliate. Let them try. I smiled grimly. I'm not the quiet little doormat they thought I was. Never again. As I left his office, another text came through. This one from Trent. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry about what they did to you. You deserved better." I didn't respond. Instead, I drove to Nana's house. My house, one last time. Standing in the driveway, I remembered her words. "This will always be your sanctuary." "No, Nana," I whispered. "You taught me something better. You taught me that my strength is my sanctuary." And that was something they could never take away. The settlement meeting was held in a sterile conference room downtown. My lawyer sat to my left, Brian to my right, while my family and their legal team huddled at the other end of the long table. "Let's review the terms," my lawyer said, sliding documents across the polished surface. "Full restitution of the house proceeds, plus interest. A legally binding agreement to cease all contact, and my client agrees not to pursue criminal charges." Mum's perfectly manicured nails drummed against the table. "This is extortion." "No," I said quietly. "This is consequences." Cadence hadn't looked at me once during the meeting. She sat with her shoulders hunched, engagement ring conspicuously absent. Dad just stared at his hands. "Signed the papers," their lawyer advised. "This is the best outcome you're going to get." One by one, they signed. When Mum's pen scratched across the final line, she finally met my eyes. "I hope you're satisfied destroying your family like this." Family? I picked up the papers. A real family doesn't steal from each other. A real family doesn't forge signatures or mock their daughter in text messages. A real family loves each other without conditions. "We did love you," Dad protested weakly. "No, you loved what I could do for you. There's a difference." Outside the conference room, Brian handed me an envelope. A little goodbye gift. Inside was a printed screenshot. The Reddit post about the wedding had gone viral, with over 100,000 upvotes. The top comment read, "Finally, someone stood up to toxic family. You're my hero, wedding revenge girl." "I'm not sure if I'm ready to laugh about it yet," I said, but I tucked the envelope into my bag anyway. "You don't have to laugh," he replied, "but you should be proud. Most people never find the courage to stand up for themselves like that." My phone buzzed. A real estate notification. A small cottage had just listed, walking distance from the beach. The photos showed worn hardwood floors, big windows, and a tiny garden that needed love. "Want to check it out?" Brian offered. "I know a good inspector." The cottage was nothing like Nana's house. It was smaller, creakier, and smelled of sea salt instead of her familiar lavender. But when I stepped inside, something felt right. "The garden needs work," the realtor warned. "I like projects," I said, remembering how Nana taught me to plant roses. "I'll take it." That evening, I sat on my new porch, listening to waves in the distance. A comment notification popped up on my phone. Someone had tagged me in a wedding planning group. "Before you let your family pressure you into anything, remember the wedding revenge story. Stand up for yourself. Set boundaries. Don't let anyone steal your voice." I smiled, thinking of all the women who might learn from my story. My phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. "Saw the settlement went through. Good for you. Trent." I deleted it without responding. Some chapters needed to stay closed. A small moving truck pulled up, Brian at the wheel. "Ready for the furniture delivery?" We spent the next hour unloading the few pieces I'd kept from Nana's house. Her reading chair, the copper kettle, a small oil painting of roses she'd made. "Perfect spot," Brian said as I hung the painting above the fireplace. "Almost perfect," I replied, pulling out one last item, the old brass key from Nana's house. I placed it on the mantel beneath the painting, but this time it wasn't a symbol of loss. It was a reminder of finding my voice. "Tea?" I held up the copper kettle. "Well, always." As we sat on the porch watching the sunset, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Peace. Not the false peace of keeping quiet to maintain harmony, but the real peace of being truly, unapologetically myself. A postcard arrived the next morning. No return address. The best revenge isn't just exposing the truth, it's living well afterward. You've got this. B. I propped it against the brass key and smiled. He was right. The best revenge wasn't the wedding exposure or the settlement. It was this: finding my strength, building my sanctuary, and finally being free.